Let's move on to Barcelona, and before we talk about their performance, certainly in that second half against Betis, as you mentioned, Ansu Fati out for 4 months. This is gutting, obviously, for Barcelona fans, but for just fans of football who've just enjoyed watching him grow this season.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, we talked about how brilliant he was when he broke onto the scene last year, and then it's true there was a period of him maybe plateauing a little bit, or a period of perhaps you could even call it stagnation. I think it's more just a case that this was a young player who wasn't getting as many opportunities as maybe he might have needed, wasn't getting continuity, which was entirely natural, by the way, because he was at a club with Suarez, with Messi, with Griezmann, a whole load of other good players. This season, the season begins, and he's not just good, he's absolutely brilliant. The best player in the Barcelona team, the one that gives them the most kind of sense of danger every time he attacks. He seems to be able to do two or three different things. He could play off the left, he could play through the middle, he could play as that false nine. The Spanish national team were playing him as false number 9 as well. And he's only just turned 18, and you had to kind of keep reminding yourself of this, partly because he'd been around for a year, that this is still a kid. And he turns 18, and to have an injury like this is really bad news. There was a doubt about whether to remove the meniscus or fix it. I think had he been a 30-year-old player, they would have probably just taken it out. Because he's so young still, the desire was to fix it properly, to make sure they maintain stability in his knee for the rest of his career. And I very, very much hope he comes back from this. It's the second serious injury he's had, by the way. He had a broken leg, I think, 2, maybe 3 years ago now, and he came through that. So obviously everyone will be hoping he comes through this, because as you say, it's not just about Barcelona, it's not even just about the Spanish national team. It's about the excitement of a player who I think we'd started to believe. And I must confess, I changed my mind slightly on this. I was less sure midway through last season than I was at the start of this season. I think we'd all started to believe that this was going to be a very, very special footballer. And of course, we now all hope that it still can be.
The one negative for Barcelona leading into an international break, which is rare, Sid. Barcelona going in with a good result and things seeming to be relatively calm, well, certainly by Catalonia's standards.
Yeah, although of course, as Koeman said a few weeks ago, things are never calm. You know, there's always something else. When you think you fix one problem, another problem appears. I suppose in a way you could see Ansu's injury as part of that kind of process that seems to be endlessly repeating. It was really important for Barcelona at the weekend that Antoine Griezmann scored, having missed a penalty. I think he really needed that. That Messi came on at half-time, having not started the game because of a slight knock on the ankle, and then played so well, scored obviously a penalty as he'd done all season, but then scored his first goal from open play. And it was a real kind of have that of a shot, wasn't it? It was a real, I'm through now, I've had enough of this, I'm going to rip the net off. And it felt cathartic the way that he scored that. I think it felt cathartic the way that Griezmann scored. So it's a real pity from Barcelona's point of view that the happiness couldn't be complete with Ansu Fati coming through the game without a serious injury.
Who's going to be happier at the end of the season, Sid? This old question, Barca or Real Madrid? What does Stella think?
I'm not sure. I think she's trying to make the point there.
It's like, Dad, that's a stupid question again.
Atletico Madrid and
oh yeah, of course, Atletico. Let's talk about
that. She now knows. You know.
Let's talk about Atleti, shall we?
She's heard enough of your questions, Dan, to know that they're always daft. I mean, genuinely, this weekend has been a weekend in which Real Sociedad obviously went top again, and they're playing very, very well indeed, and we've been asking ourselves this question of whether or not we can take them seriously. I think this was the weekend in which a lot of people decided that actually, you know what, Atletico Madrid look really, really good. I think it's 23 games now in La Liga without defeat. They haven't been beaten this season. They're the only team in La Liga that haven't, and there is a shift.
Yep.
They're more creative than they were. They're playing a little bit higher up the pitch. Simeone was saying last week about how the style has been altered by the presence of Luis Suarez, because, of course, he demands different things from the players around him. You can no longer play long ball to him. You can no longer go running behind the defence, because, truth be told, Luis Suarez can't do those things anymore. But what he can do is bring teammates closer to the penalty area. And I think we're seeing Joao Felix benefit from that. I think we're seeing Marcos Llorente benefit from that. And Joao, by the way, this season has been absolutely brilliant. I think a case can be made for saying that in these first 9 games of the season, which, by the way, is a quarter of the season already, it doesn't feel like it, he's been the best player in Spain. And Atletico look very, very serious indeed. Next game for them, by the way, Barcelona. If they win that, then we really will be taking them seriously.
That obviously leads me to the question, so can they keep it up?
Well, I think they have reasonable strength in depth. I think they would struggle a little bit if they had problems at the back. They don't really have a natural replacement for Lodi, although actually Hermoso has been playing at left back and playing very well. They don't have a replacement at all for Kieran Trippier, whose form in truth has faded a little bit in the last 3 or 4 weeks. But all the way through the team, you can see alternatives now, I think. Possibly, if they didn't have Luis Suarez and Diego Costa wasn't fit, then they'd have to reinvent that forward line, maybe play with Carrasco, Correa, Joao, Felix as forwards, which isn't their natural position. But I think they do have the quality to compete for the league title. Now, I wouldn't by any means say they're obliged to go and win it now, but I think they are obliged to compete for it. I think their squad is strong enough. I think the slight evolution in the way they're playing is good enough. And I think if Joao Felix can maintain this form, then I think we're looking at a very serious contender indeed.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.